You applied for a loan. Nobody told you the truth. You just watched a number decide your life before a human ever did. You sit across from a loan officer who is not looking at your face. She is looking at a screen. 3 digits appear there, and those 3 digits already know more about your worth to this bank than your handshake, your suit, or your smile ever will. The number is low. You feel it before she says a word. Her posture changes first, a small pull backward, a softer no forming behind her teeth. Here is the sentence nobody wants to say out loud. The system was never testing your character. It was pricing your desperation. You drive an old sedan with more miles on it than you want to admit, the kind that needs a specific gentle turn of the key to start on cold mornings. 3 weeks ago, you were 4 days late on a payment of only a few dollars, and that tiny lateness now follows you like a scent you cannot wash off. You skipped a meal last month, not for health, just to make a bill land on time. None of that shows up as a story to anyone reading your file. It shows up only as a number. 300, maybe 320. Low enough that you are invisible to the systems built to reward people, and highly visible to the systems built to punish them. Rule number 1. The poorer you are, the more everything costs to borrow, and the richer you are, the more everything is handed to you for free. You have a friend from your old building, someone who spends first and thinks later, who buys the newer phone every year on credit he cannot close, who still somehow ends up with almost the same loan number as you despite different choices, because the system does not care why you are unstable, only that you are. Something shifts. Not in your income, in your patience. You start paying 2 days early instead of on time. You start checking your file the way another person checks the weather, a quiet, anxious ritual before stepping outside. You stop asking for new cards. You wait. The number moves. Slowly. 500. 550. You are not comfortable yet, but you're no longer invisible in the worst way. Now you are visible in the mediocre way, the way that gets you approved, but taxed. A car loan comes through, but the interest rate attached to it is nearly double what the man 2 desks down received for the identical car, same day, same branch. He didn't work harder than you this month. He simply arrived already trusted. You don't say anything. You don't argue. You sign. Here is something worth arguing about, though, and you can decide for yourself whether it's fair. A person born into a family with an established credit history is handed a starting number you had to bleed for over years. Is that a system rewarding responsibility, or a system laundering inheritance through decimal points? You can think about that. You can even disagree with me in the comments below, because plenty of people do. Rule number 2. The middle of the ladder is not safety. It is a longer, quieter version of the bottom. At 600, your foil reappears. That same friend, still spending, still smiling, oblivious that his approval rate is dropping while yours climbs. He laughs about it. Numbers are numbers, he says. They'll fix themselves. You don't correct him. You've learned that people only understand the ladder once they're already falling down it. Something shifts. Not in your paycheck. In who returns your calls. At 680, an actual person from the bank starts calling you back personally instead of routing you through automated menus. This is the part worth knowing before you keep climbing, the part that changes how you'll see every number after this. So if this is helping you see your own file differently, it costs nothing to subscribe and stay through the rest of the levels, because the top of this ladder looks nothing like what you think it does right now. 700 arrives quietly, almost anticlimactically. No fireworks. Just a letter offering you a card you never requested, with a limit larger than you expected, and an interest rate lower than anything you've seen in your adult life. You read it twice, certain there's a catch. There isn't. This is simply what trust costs when you're the kind of person institutions are afraid to lose. Rule number 3. The system doesn't reward you for needing money less. It rewards you for being profitable to know. Your friend's number stalls near the low 600s. He starts asking you, carefully, almost embarrassed, how you did it. You tell him the truth, nothing dramatic, just years of unglamorous, boring consistency. He looks disappointed, like he wanted a trick instead of a decade. Something shifts. Not in your bank balance, in how banks speak to you. At 750, you refinance your mortgage, and the rate offered is lower than what you're currently paying by a wide enough margin that your bank calls you first, before you ever call them, worried a competitor might take you. You sit in that moment for a second, remembering the loan officer years ago who wouldn't meet your eyes. Now representatives use your first name unprompted. Now late fees are waived with a single polite call, no argument required. You are no longer asking permission. You are being asked to stay. Rule number 4, at the top, money doesn't buy things. Money buys the absence of friction. 800. Then 820. Your applications now come pre-approved before you finish typing your name. A private banker reaches out just to check in, no request needed, offering rates that read like typos to anyone still living at the bottom of this ladder. You buy a second property with financing terms that would have sounded like fiction to the version of you sitting in that first cold chair, watching a woman avoid your eyes. But something else has been happening quietly beside the numbers. Your old friends stop calling as often. Not from anger, from distance. The gap between where you both stand isn't just financial anymore. It's conversational. He talks about struggling to make a payment. You talk about which financial advisor to trust with a diversified portfolio. Neither of you is wrong to talk about your own life. You've simply stopped living in the same one. At 850, near the very peak, something almost nobody mentions becomes obvious. This is a quiet ladder. Nobody applauds you rung by rung. You don't feel richer emotionally at the top the way you assumed you would back when you were counting coins for a payment. You just feel less afraid. That's the entire prize. Not luxury. The absence of dread. Rule number 5, the top of a ladder isn't loud. It's just the place where fear finally stops following you home. Years pass. You barely think about your score anymore. It moves in the background of your life, like a pulse you no longer have to check. You've forgotten mostly what it felt like to be evaluated by a stranger looking at a screen instead of at you. Then, one afternoon, you're at a different bank branch, waiting for an unrelated matter, and you notice a young man across the room. He's sitting stiffly. His hands are folded too tightly. The loan officer across from him is looking at her screen, not at his face, and her posture pulls backwards slightly before she says a single word. You recognize the moment completely, the way you'd recognize your own handwriting after years of not seeing it. He glances toward you for half a second, maybe hoping for some unspoken solidarity, some sign that it gets better. You don't say anything. You just look back down at the paperwork in your own hands, and the room goes on exactly as it always has, one person becoming visible, one person staying invisible, the ladder resetting itself for someone new, the way it always does, quietly, for everyone who hasn't climbed it yet.